Hey, what's happening, everybody? Welcome to Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. I'm here with my lovely wife, Dr. Alicia Watkins. We are not, uh, as usual in the Pillow Talk podcast, we typically are against our pillows and laying right next to each other. But actually, we're not doing that. I'm actually out of state, but she has joined me, and we are here to have an interesting conversation, I hope, over something that you might have seen in the media involving Jay-Z and whether or not Jay-Z is a miser for not loaning money to his relatives. So before I begin, I want to ask my wife, how you doing today, babe?
I'm doing good. How are you feeling? You had a long drive today.
I did. It was a long drive. I feel good though. I made it.
Okay.
I'm just comfortable. A lot of traffic jams and stuff. Traffic jams stress me out, but hey, it is
Really?
what it is.
You're such a great, let me tell you, I don't know if people know this, but you are the perfect person to go on a road trip with.
Oh, you think
You're
so?
so fun. You are so fun. Remember back in the day, we used to ride
What?
cross country.
Remember we drove to New York? Me and my wife,
Yes.
back when we were friends, we took a road trip to New York and we listened to Jay-Z and DMX and
We sure did. That's what kept us up. Because we were wild and crazy because I remember we were like, okay, let's leave in the morning. And then it was like 11 o'clock at night. We're looking at each other. We're like, nah, let's leave now. We left in the middle of the night. It was crazy. That was
we
wild and
did. We
crazy
drove
time.
we drove from Chicago to New York in the middle of the night. And you did most of the driving, and then when we got there, I thought we were gonna just be asleep all day, and you actually still had the energy to get up and party. And I remember thinking, I can't hang with this girl. She's
Well,
too
yeah.
much.
The thing is, like back then, like New York is so fun and exciting. You don't even want to fall asleep. You're like, if I fall asleep, I'm gonna miss something. And we went to that real nice club called Nails.
Yeah, I remember that.
Remember that? Yeah.
Yeah, I remember all those guys that surrounded you when you walked in, like you were the Queen of England or something. I said, "Good Lord." Oh,
Well, you mentioned that to me, and I remember you saying that to me. I don't know why. I just didn't even want to talk about it. I was just like, let me just sit here with my friend.
well, anyway, let's jump to our target,
Anyway,
our topic for today. By the way, let me know if you can hear us. Give me a yes in the chat if you can hear the conversation. Welcome to Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. This is my wife, Dr. Alicia Watkins. And Pillow Talk is a podcast where we get together and we talk about intelligent topics in the Black community. We also have fun, as you can see. And so, if you could please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe, and let us know. Give us a yes if you can hear us clearly and loudly. And also, don't forget this podcast is on Spotify and Apple. So if you look up my name, Boyce Watkins, on any of those platforms, you can find me there. Can you guys hear us okay? Give us a yes. All right. So, how many of you heard about Jay-Z and this whole thing about him not wanting to loan $4,800 to his relative? Did anybody see that? Give me a yes if you saw the conversation around Jay-Z and his $4,800. And so a lot of people have expressed comments on this, and they understood. A lot of people seem to feel that Jay Z was right. That hey, look, if you're borrowing money from me, then you're going to keep borrowing money later on. And he kind of said that when you loan the money, you are setting a precedent, a bad precedent when it comes to lending and all that. That if you loan people money one time, they're going to keep on coming back. And a lot of people agree with Jay. How many of you agree? Like, how many of you understood where he's coming from, and also feel the same way that if you were worth $2.5 billion, you still wouldn't loan your cousin 5,000 because you feel like it's the principle. And then I'd like to know how many of you think that he's just being a stingy billionaire who's out of touch and doesn't understand people's struggles. So what I'm going to do is, before I throw in my 2 cents, I'm going to talk to my wife about this because, as you may know, my wife is a licensed therapist and a full professor of social work. She meets with individuals and families on a regular basis. So from a family perspective and a relationship perspective, what do you think, babe? I mean, do you think that Jay had a point, or do you think that he was just being a bad cousin?
oh, I mean, well, being a therapist, you always have to understand where people are coming from. And I can see exactly where Jay Z is coming from. We don't know the intricate details of what he's saying. It could be a cousin that be asking for money every year, and maybe he's giving them money. Because remember, Jay Z has been wealthy for a very long time. He's been a cousin to this person also for a very long time. So he knows his background, he knows his history, and you don't know if he's already invested enough money into this man or this person where he's just like, I know this person. I don't feel like I could really help him if I give him the money. So maybe he's gotten to the point where he's just like, I'm done. This person has tapped out. I'm not having him or anyone else borrow money. And, so you have to see it from Jay Z's perspective. And it makes sense to me. He's right about that. Like sometimes people just, you loan people money one time and then they have a sad story and they want you to loan them money yet again. And they know, oh, if I tell Jay Z my sad story, then this person will always loan me money because people can play on your success. And I know a lot of people who are very successful have to deal with survival's guilt, where they're like, they're not able to see that Jay-Z has earned every penny of every dollar he's ever made. Like he was a fantastic, awesome hard worker. He was a rapper. He put all of his time and money into his craft, and he worked real hard day in and day out to make sure that he had these sorts of funds and resources. And it's nothing like moochers that come around and be like, oh, thank you for all your hard work. And they come around with their hand out. So I'm seeing it from Jay-Z's point of view, and it makes sense to me.
Mm. Okay. So it's interesting. Somebody put up a post that made me think a little bit. Grover Steesland said Jay Z has $2.5 billion. His cousin asked for 4,800, and he said no. To put that into perspective, that'd be the equivalent of someone who made $50,000 a year being asked to give a dime. Uh, First off, I'm going to say that I don't know if the math is quite accurate, and the reason I say that is because you're comparing apples and oranges. And this is one of the keys to wealth that I want people to understand. There's a difference between your income and your net worth. Jay-Z's net worth is 2.5 billion according to Forbes. That does not mean he has 2.5 billion in the bank. That does not mean he made 2.5 billion dollars last year. Jay-Z probably made something like 50 million or 60 million or maybe 80 million if he had a good year. So that comparison is not quite accurate. Now, if you did assume Jay made 50 million last year, then you could say that that's like a person who makes 50,000 being asked to loan somebody $4.80, right? So it's not a dime, it's more like $5. But then that's the reasonable question, right? If you're making 50 grand and a cousin asks, hey, it says, hey, let me hold $5, uh, you know, do you do it and just say, you know what? I know you're probably going to waste it. I know you might even use it on drugs. I know you might ever never repay me, but you're my cousin, so here, take the $5 and do what you want to do. Or do you say, hey, nah, you should have worked hard like me. I go to work every day. I'm gonna hold this $5 in my pocket because just out of principle, you should not get any of my money. Um, I feel like it's a mixed bag. I don't think it's a cut and dry decision. What do you think, babe?
Yeah, it's not cut and dry. So I just went over the perspective of Jay-Z. Now, let's look at it from the perspective of the cousin. Maybe the cousin had thought about it and said, you know what, I'm gonna put together a nice plan. Here I have in my family resource. Maybe that we don't know. Did he ever give a reason why this cousin wanted this money? Was it to start a business? Was it to invest in something? Was it, I don't
Yeah,
know, for
yeah, I believe
fun?
it. I
Uh-huh.
remember. I got to go check Jay Z's quote again, but I could have swore he said something about how when you don't want to put the money up, somebody says, you don't believe in my dreams and
Okay.
stuff like that. So
Now
I
that's a
wondered if
tough
it was
one.
a business conversation.
Right. So if it's a business conversation, maybe Jay-Z needs to invest in his family a little more. Maybe he needs to take a page out of, oh, what's that? Is it LeBron James? I know it was somebody who was just like, you know what? I'm coming up. I'm gonna make sure everybody around me is good, like how I am. I'm gonna make sure these people are skilled, and I'm gonna use their talents instead of going outside of my family. I'm gonna look within my family and use their talents. So I totally understand the other side of the perspective, and that's just like, why not support him if he has a dream, if he has a business? Why not even just loan him the money and invest in him, but at the same time give him the resources to become successful? Like, what an awesome thing. Like, that's a great privilege. Like, if I was the successful person in my family, I be going to all my family members. Like I go to my cousin now. My cousin, girl, I need your help. Come and be my manager. Like I'm gonna look inside my family first to help bring me up because these are the people I trust the most before I look outside of my family and want to support and invest in them so that they could do well and make sure that my whatever my investment, it's not really just the money amount, it's the principle of it. It's my time, it's my energy. This is my family member. I want to make sure that everybody in my best ability can have a chance because when you're starting out, anybody who's starting out for a business, it's hard to get started. It's hard to come up with the capital. And if you have somebody in your family who's willing and has the capital and it's nothing to them, it's like chump change. You see people on the week, Jay-Z spends triple, quadruple that much money just on dinner and his clothes, so it's really nothing for him. So it makes sense for a cousin to ask, hey, I'm your cousin. I know you don't really owe me anything, but here's something that I'm interested in doing. I'm interested in investing. It's no sweat off your back. Help me do this. So yeah, now I see it from the perspective of the cousin.
Okay. By the way,
Yeah.
everybody, you're watching Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. This is my wife, Dr. Alicia Watkins. Dr. Alicia is a licensed therapist and a full professor of social work. Her website is coachingwithdralicia.com. She sees clients on an individual and family basis. So if you want to see what she does, just go to coachingwithdralicia.com or follow her at Coaching with Dr. Alicia. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins and my PhD is in finance, and so we love to talk about topics that relate to love and money. I actually wrote a book on this topic in 2006 called Financial Lovemaking that I wrote back when I was on the faculty of Syracuse University. So things that relate to money and family are of particular interest to me. And also my new book is called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, which is all about family and money. So this type of topic is really interesting to me for that reason as well. Now, here's what my thought is on Jay Z. I'll say this. I I'm gonna treat. I'm probably gonna confuse people because I'm not a yes or no guy on this. Right. Most financial questions don't have a yes or no answer. Most financial questions, the answer is it depends. And I think that in this particular case, whether or not he should loan him the money, it really depends. It depends on who you're talking about, what their history is, what how Jay-Z feels in terms of what he expects from his loved ones, what they expect from him, things like that. Now, if you were to justify him holding the money back, first off, it's his right to hold the money. That's first and foremost. And I think that this survivor's guilt issue that you mentioned is 100% accurate. I think a lot of us, give me a yes in the chat if you are that one person in your family who's successful. Give me a yes if you're that person who's doing better than everybody else, and it puts pressure on you. They expect you to pay for everything. People are coming to you like for money constantly. I get people that ask me to borrow money all the time. It's not fun. It makes things awkward. It's really even hard to have friends. A lot of people don't understand why a lot of rich people don't want to have broke friends, because if you're rich and you do something that seems outrageous, like you decide you want to spend $10,000 to go on vacation, and you're going on vacation with somebody who's thinking, man, I just need 2,000 to pay my rent. Then they're going to be looking at you funny. They're going to say, hey, if you spent, hey, can you pay my rent? And you might say, well, I don't want to pay your rent with my extra money. And then they're going to say, well, wait a minute, you just blew 10 grand on the vacation. What's wrong with you, right? So that's when you get to the point where they're being judgmental and mean, and it's hard because I've lost friends because I refuse to loan them money. Now on the other hand, I think that we live in a society though that's a little bit too capitalist. I think that in a capitalist society like America, we have this weird idea that it's okay for billionaires to not even loan a couple dollars out of their pocket or not give to anything other than themselves. I think that we're very quick to forgive a celebrity no matter what they do. Like we're very quick to defend Jay Z and say, Jay, yeah, that's right. Why are you loaning him anything? Why are you doing anything for him? Well, the question to me then is, if you're a black man and you are worth $2 billion, who do you owe in the black community? What do you owe, if anything, to any of your people? Because I can tell you just from a fundamental standpoint that the Jewish culture doesn't let you do that. If you're a wealthy Jewish person and the synagogue calls and asks for money, or your family member needs money, their approach to things is going to typically be very different. There are a lot of billionaires who are heavy philanthropists. George Soros, not George Soros, Heisenberg. I think that's his name. He's out in Tulsa right now giving away $15 billion to build up the city of Tulsa. And they're not judging what people are doing with the money. They're not saying, hey, well, we're not going to give you anything because you should be working harder. You should be a billionaire like me. If you worked harder, you could have what I have, but you didn't. No, they just say, you know what? Some people are more fortunate than others. And I do think hard work makes a difference for sure. But there is such a thing as, maybe you're smarter. Maybe you did get a little bit lucky, and it doesn't mean that that explains everything. But I personally love to support other people, but at the same time, I draw boundaries. So the way I do it is when people ask me for money, I'll do something really basic. We learned this in finance. They call it optimal contracting, but most people don't think that way. So I don't try to. One day, if you guys ask, I'll explain to you. But optimal contracting kind of lets you know that when you have the money's in the power is in your favor. While you're holding the money, you've got the ability to get them to make commitments and promises, things like that. It's also connected to another concept called moral hazard, which kind of says that once you give up the money, you're losing power, right? So the way to describe it, I describe it in my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, that it's almost like when you loan money to your cousin and your cousin's really nice to you before they get the money. And then after you give them the money, they ain't calling you back. They ain't picking up the phone. They're getting an attitude when you ask for the money, right? Y'all know what I'm talking about. Everybody's seen this, right? So that what happened there was that was a moral hazard problem, which is solved through optimal contracting. What does that mean? Well, that means that before I hand you the money, then what happens then is I'm going to get you to agree to some things. First thing I'm going to get you to agree to is that you're not going to ask me for money for a long time, maybe 2 more years. And so then that means that if you ask me for money again and you try to pull the guilt trip me, like, oh man, why don't you help me out? I'll be like, no, you made an agreement. You told me that you would not ask for money for 2 years, so don't bring it up. And that helps, right? The second thing is you can ask questions, right? If the person borrowed money from you is somebody that you love and you don't like the way they manage their money and they want money from you, then maybe you say, hey, I'll loan you a little bit right now, but I need you to sit down and tell me, what are you doing with your money? And we're going to talk about a budget. We're going to talk about money management or whatever, right? And you have to listen to me if you want my money. Money is power. Money's always power. So a lot of people don't see it the same way. Some people do things like they'll say, I never loan money to relatives. I don't know how healthy that is, because one of the reasons that Black wealth doesn't grow is because we do have a culture that encourages people that are successful to not share their money with anyone, or otherwise that makes you into a sucker. And I've loaned money to a lot of people. I've helped out a lot of people. I love helping people. I have helped so many people that I can't even count them all. And I feel like that is my job, right? Even if I did work harder, even if I did, invest in education a little bit more, even though I did a lot of things that were different from other people, I still believe that my success is best shared with others, because, as long as you're not borrowing more money than I can afford to lend you, I feel better about myself when I help other people. I actually kind of enjoy that. What's wrong with that?
Yeah, it's a slippery slope. It's like, where do you draw the line from helping someone or enabling someone? Like, it gets into the question of, if you give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. But if you teach him how to fish, he'll eat forever. Like, that quote definitely applies in the situation, because you just you want to make it so that people are self-sufficient. It's one thing if someone's borrowing money from you so that they can start a business, but if they're borrowing money from you so they can pay their rent, that's two different conversations. Like, it's like, okay, what's going on that you're living below your means or above your means, that you can't even make rent every month? Like, why are you not, as an adult, able to organize your life in a way where you can be self-sufficient? Like, I would feel more comfortable as your wife saying, okay, let's invest in this person and make sure this person is successful and does everything they need in order to be successful. But I would feel uncomfortable if someone just kept coming to us. Because at this point, if they asking you for money, they asking me. You know what I mean? So it's a team thing. And I just be like, okay, let's invest in this person, but why can't this person make their rent? Like, what are they going? And it's making not only you in their money business, but I'm going to have a lot of questions. I want to know what's going on with their money, their finances. Like, let's have a conversation with them, because you don't want to enable. Like, you want to be able to really help somebody, but you don't want to make it so that people, you're enabling them to continue to F up their finances, you know. So that's one thing that I would have to say. Enabling is definitely like a slippery slope. And you're right. I'm glad, I like what you said about boundaries. You have to decide what you're comfortable with. And I don't know if anyone, I want to say it was Cedric the Entertainer, who recently did a, I recently saw a video from him on Instagram about, he has like a family fund where he puts, I think it was $25,000. He'll put it into a family fund. And he's like, don't ask me for no money. It's a family fund. It's run by Big Mama or whoever, a team of people who
Mhm.
can manage it. And they say, you know what? Don't ask me for nothing. It's going to be a group of people. There's you talk, go and talk to them and see if you can talk to them. And then they issue out the money. I think he puts $25,000 in it every year. And that gets rid of the whole uncomfortable situation of telling people no. And there's so many of us who feel indebted to people, okay, for whatever reason, because we're all, I was talking to you about it earlier, Boyce, about how we're all interconnected. When you're family members with somebody or friends with somebody or, you know, whatever important people in your life, there's this interconnectedness with them. And when you throw money into it, it makes it so much more complicated. And that's why I like Cedric the Entertainer's approach, because it takes the whole awkwardness out of it. It's like, hey, I ain't got no control over it. You go ask the council for the money. And I think it just, you know, it's, and like I talk to you about it all the time, it's unmagical to have to turn somebody down and to say no to somebody. And to, when you put those boundaries, you walk away feeling awful because you know you have enough money in your pocket to really pay for all these people that are asking you money. But in the back of your mind, you have to draw those boundaries and you have to know, like, I'm not going to bail you out of everything. You know, what are you doing? Why are you keep making these same mistakes over and over again? And so that's where I kind of lean a little bit on the side of Jay-Z, where it's just like, I don't want to set up that type of relationship with you. I would like to know you as my family member, but it makes it awkward when somebody at the end of the day is like, dude, give me $5,000 on the brother. You know, it's just
Mhm.
like, oh my God, I can't believe. I'm interested more in a relationship with you, and why does it have to be tied to money? I think that's the
Mm.
issue.
Okay, I get that. By the way, everybody, you're listening to Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. This is my wife, Dr. Alicia Watkins. Dr. Alicia is a licensed therapist and a full professor of social work. You can follow her at coachingwithdralicia.com. She has a lot of clients individually and collectively. So feel free to go to coachingwithdralicia.com to see what she's up to. Also, don't forget the All Black National Convention is coming up very, very soon. The All Black National Convention is going to be in Atlanta, October 20th. We're going to have a lot of great speakers there. Hundreds and hundreds of B1 people from around the world. Dr. George C. Frazier, Constance Carter, Ash Cash from Earn Your Leisure, and a lot of other great people are going to be there. Over 40 something people will be there. So if you are B1, if you're into Black wealth, Black love, Black intelligence, and solving problems for the Black community, and just having fun, just join us at the All Black National Convention. It's all Black nationalconvention.com. It's going to be in Atlanta at the Marriott Marquis. You have 24 hours left to get a discount on the hotel room. We arranged a massive discount. If you can't get the discount, you can still come to the convention, but the discount will disappear tomorrow. So anyway, let's finish up this conversation. All right, so with Jay Z and this $4,800 situation, I'm gonna say this. I like what you said about Cedric the Entertainer, who, by the way, he did a nice video for us for the convention this year. I appreciated that. And one thing that you said Cedric did is something that I've actually advocated for. This is a type of what you might call financial governance, where he basically said, "Look, don't come to me. Here's a family fund." So he's striking a balance. He's saying, "Look, I'm not going to be the rich guy who forgets where he came from, but at the same time, I'm not trying to be the bank of Cedric." So what I'm going to do is every year I'm going to put money in this fund, and then also by letting Big Mama and the cousins control the fund, that's like having a board. That's why corporations have a board of directors to make sure that everybody gets a fair shot and that the family's kind of taken care of, that the interests are not just sort of decided by one person. So effectively, he created this fund with a board, like almost like a family bank that has a board of directors, and the board gets to decide what to do with the money. I love that. I love that because it strikes a balance between being generous and supportive, each one teach one, help each other out, help a brother out, that type of thing, versus letting people leech off you, lie to you, scam you, steal your money. Because you're right, people. One thing people got to understand is, well, in the Black Business School, we teach about how to protect your wealth, or what it means to build wealth. There's 4 steps to building wealth in America. You guys ready? I'm gonna break it down for you, make it real simple. Even your kids can learn this. Y'all ready? Here it is. Here are the 4 steps to getting wealth. Number one, you got to have financial awareness. That means the ability to know where the money is. You'd be amazed how many people say they want to get rich but know nothing about money, have never studied money, never took a class on money, don't even read financial publications. That's like saying, I want to win a Super Bowl, but I've never seen a football. I've never been on a football field. I don't know the difference between the end zone and the bathroom. I don't know the difference between the quarterback and the cheerleader. You're not going to win football games if you've never played football and you don't know the rules. So the second thing that you have to do after you learn where the money is, you have to make a plan. Success does not come by accident. You have to have a strategy. You have to have a plan. Number three is, once you have a plan, you have to execute the plan. A lot of people can talk about what they want to do. Some people can even plan what they want to do, but that ability to execute is absolutely critical, because all wealth is it's piling up. It's an accumulation process. It's where you've done the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, and then it adds up, and you look back and say, look at how much money I have. There are habits of the wealthy that are different from everybody else. Number four, this is important. This is where Jay-Z comes into play, is you have to protect the wealth that you have. 70% of all wealthy families lose all their wealth within one generation. 90%, let me know if you're hearing this. Give me a yes if you hear this. 90% of all wealthy families lose all their wealth within 2 generations. So this means that if once you get the money, you have to protect it. And that doesn't mean just things like insurance policies and estate planning and trusts and wills. It also means protecting yourself from scammers and beggars and lawsuits. And Jay-Z could probably give you a list of 10 or 15 situations in the last month where somebody came in and tried to take his money. Somebody tried to steal from him, sue him. He probably has lawyers on retainer constantly because he's getting sued for every reason. And then he's probably a target of every single sob story that you can imagine, right? So part of how you deal with family and deal with the borrowing is protecting the wealth. You have to have a process for that. I don't think the best process is to be just closed off, right? I see Jay Z all the time making multi-million dollar deals with white boys. I think he needs to make some deals also with loved ones in the Marcy projects, and I hope he's doing that as well. So this idea that somehow he should just sit back as a billionaire and owe nothing to nobody, I just don't agree with that. That's not how Black Wall Street got built. A.W. Gurley, or O.W. Gurley, excuse me, when he started Black Wall Street, he made a rule. He said, I want everybody here to get rich, but I want everybody here to be willing to invest in others to help them get rich too. So you can, do trade that is better than charity, and you can lift each other up by supporting each other. But sometimes that means you might loan that cousin money and never get it back. But that should not jade you. I think helping others is the best way to do great things with your wealth. That's my 2 cents, babe. I'll let you get the last word.
Okay, I'm gonna say something, and it's not a very popular statement, and it's something that like a lot of us know, but I don't know like how to say it, and I mean it in the most respectful way. What I want to say, what I'm about to say, and I hope it goes over well. But I have been around poor people, like people who are struggling. I've been around people who were not struggling, who were kind of middle class, and I've been around a lot of very wealthy people. So I've been around a bunch of different types of people and connected to their income, right? And in the back of my mind, you can kind of tell who's who. And I've paid attention to the type of conversations that people have. And I don't know what comes first, the chicken or the egg, if the wealth comes first or the outlook or the attitude or the types of conversations come first. But very wealthy, successful people who are winning, they all are very similar in terms of their ambition, in terms of their attitude. They're like, I guess because I'm a social worker, I just imagine rich people are misers and awful people and terrible individuals. Like we study why poor people are poor. Like that's what we do. Like my whole life is dedicated to that. But really wealthy, successful, winning people, they have a great attitude. They're positive. They have a very uplifting outlook on life. They never see a can't. They always see an opportunity. They don't get down. They're very positive. They're very optimistic. They're very outgoing. And they're bold and they're courageous and they're not afraid of taking risks. And there's just something electric about winners. I don't even want to tie money to it because I think we put an overemphasis on that sort of winning. But I'm talking about people who win in life. They have a winning, I want to say they have a winning attitude. It sounds so cliche, but that has been what I've learned. And that people who don't win in life, and it could be wealthy people who aren't winning. Okay. Maybe I shouldn't even put money to it. But people who don't win in life, they have a losing attitude. Like there's always an excuse for why they can't do nothing. There's always something going on. Their life is so chaotic. It's always a sad story. And, it's always something perpetual going on in their life that's chaotic and ignorant and just like that. Those kind of people, like, I don't know, like, I just feel the energy of people who are winning and who aren't winning. And I would hope that the attitude comes first. Like anybody who's down and out and whose life is chaotic, I would hope that if you change like the way you see life, hopefully the you will receive and you will see abundance in your life. But in terms of abundance and the winning attitude, it really makes a big difference on your outcome. I mean, what do you think, Boyce?
Well, I think I don't doubt what you're saying. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I think the mindset is important, right? And I like the fact that in the Black Business School we created the Black Financial Therapy Department. It's kind of the first ever of its kind. There's never been any group of scholars specifically focused on figuring out the psychological barriers to building Black wealth. So that's something we're doing in the Black Business School, and I want everybody to know about that because there is a mindset that is attached to wealth. There's
Mm-hmm.
no question about that. And I think people need to accept that instead of just assuming that it's all about which politician you voted for or how lucky you were, how much money you were born with.
It
Those
is
very
not luck. It's not luck to me.
well, it was not,
Yeah.
it's not, it was, see, here's the thing though. I don't think luck is the driving force, but luck plays a part as well. Luck does make somewhat of a difference because I can think of scenarios where I just got very lucky. Like I got lucky to get a father when I was 3 years old. If things had turned out different, um, I think I would have been different. I think my mindset would have been different, right? So effectively, I'm not going to sit here and say that all these things you say aren't true because I do believe they're true 100%. Mindset matters. I also do think that there are some people who get rolled a bad lot in life. And I think that if you talk about the effects of trauma and terrible things that can happen to some of us as kids and what that can do to people from a mental health standpoint and create that negative attitude that you're talking about, that is a wealth deterrent, um then I can hear that because you're right. You can go into certain spaces and you can see behaviors, maybe people imitating what they're seeing in rap music videos and stuff like that, and you see a lot of that is very anti wealth behavior, anti success behavior, ignorance and whatever. But a lot of it can be driven by some of these external variables that really shape a person's mindset in a negative way, right? so
Hmm.
so I think that
Yeah,
you're
it is a. Go ahead. Mhm.
no, so I'm just saying I agree with what you're saying. I also do think that, from a structural standpoint, it's a matter of saying, yes, that is true. But at the same time, also to your point, it might be a matter of saying, if that person is struggling financially and they do need help, sometimes there may be a time where you just help them without any conditions whatsoever. But then you're right. There may be times where you say, look, I may or may not help you, but either way, I need to help you with your mindset because there is something that poor people can learn from wealthy people, whether they believe it or not. And there are things that wealthy people can learn about the poor, right? And I think that we should learn from each other, and that's how we create a good society.
Yeah, but I think like for anybody who's like down and out, I mean, and it's so easy to say, but it's very complex. But really like who you believe you are, that you got to wake up to the fact that on some level that's reflected in your surroundings, and where do you start? Well, a good place to start is to just say, you know what, I've had enough of this. Whatever you're doing and whatever situation that you're in right now, whatever it is in your surroundings that you're just sick of, like it takes anger. That's why anger is such a wonderful motivating elixir because it's like you get mad. Like the best work I've ever done and the best of anything I've ever done always comes from a sense of anger. Like I'm like, I'm so pissed right now. This is gonna, and that gets me up and it makes me work hard. So like if you're just angry or you're just mad, and anger is great. You're just mad about whatever around you that gets on your nerve, that irritates you. Like that's a good motivator to just want to say, I've had enough of this. I'm done. In my mind, I am moving on and I am putting myself mentally into a new place. And you know and believe that that will happen. I do see you got to start there if I had to put my finger on anything, because you can't control your family structure. You were born in a family that you were born into. Okay. You can't control. You had a mama, a daddy, or if you had a mom, a dad, a stepfather, stepmother, or you had nobody growing up. I've seen success stories of people who had absolutely nobody and they have been able to use that story as their motivator to overcome so much. And no one can overcome things like we can. So, you know, yes, and I'm a social worker, so I like to see person and environment. I like to deconstruct all of that. But if I had to start somewhere, can we at least start with what you can control? And that is your mind. How you see things and how you view life has an impact. It definitely has an impact on what you see around you. And when you open up and you recognize that, and I guess you call it mindset, but I call it a little more intricate than mindset. Like mindset just seems like it just reminds me of that book about mindset. But yes, that's a great way of putting it. But I just really think that start with what you can control. And you can control how you think and feel. So go there, you know.
Well, you know what? I think we've talked this pretty good.
Okay. All
Um,
right.
so there we go. So there's the breakdown. So the answers to whether or not Jay Z is a greedy bastard is yes and no. It all depends on the perspective you look at it from. But you're right. It is his money to do what he wants. I will say I vote for a society though when we understand when we have enough. And I can definitely say I admit I have a hard time understanding why he wouldn't just say, okay, it's $4,800. Here you go. But at the same time, I understand when people would say, no, I'm not doing that. And I think it's everybody's right to do that. But I can say overall, as a general idea, the reason America is sinking as a country is because we have accepted the idea that greed is good, that wealthy people owe nothing to society. And that belief is why your government's $32 trillion in debt and counting. And the deficits get bigger every year. So, which is going to ultimately end up destroying the value of your dollars and things like that. So, you got to be really careful, because at some point, the struggling working class, those who are struggling to pay the rent, those who are struggling to pay their bills, they're going to revolt one day. One day they're going to revolt, and they're going to go out. They're going to do what the French did and decide that all rich people are evil. And that's probably bigger than Jay Z and his cousin. But that's what kind of went through my mind in terms of trying to figure out exactly what does a wealthy guy owe other people. Maybe he owes nothing. I believe he owes something, but it's okay. Everybody has a right to their perspective. And so, thank you, babe, for giving your point of view. I appreciate it. And thank you all for hanging out
Yes.
with us in an episode of Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. This is my wife, Dr. Alicia Watkins. Dr. Alicia is a licensed therapist and a full professor of social work. So if you'd like to see what she does with her clients individually and collectively, just go to coachingwithdralicia.com. That's coachingwithdralicia.com. Also, I have a new book out. It's called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. If you'd like to go take a look at that book, you can go to drboycebooks.com, or you can also go to my website, boycewatkins.com. Last but not least, of course, if you'd like, I send out profit alerts if you are interested in stocks and things like that, and you want to invest and build your wealth so you don't have to go borrow money from Jay-Z. Just I'll send you some stocks that I'm buying. as well as a list of AI stocks that I love, and our $5 a day investing plan so that anybody can go from poverty to wealth in less than a generation. Just text the word stock to 31996. If you text stock to 31996, we got you in the Black Business School. We have 156,000 students worldwide. We have introduced wealth to millions of people, and we are getting it done. We want to change this culture. So God bless everybody. Love you. Thank you, Maurice Rulin and JoJo, and as in the days of Noah and Gilbert Thomas and Grace and Chairman of the Poor and everyone else. We will see you all really soon, and I hope you have a good night. Hit that thumbs up button. Talk to you later. Peace.